Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Boro Fan TV and this week's edition of the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. We enter the final week of the regular season, and tonight's show is going to take a look back at the weekend's game against Luton Town. Boro fans, let us know what you made of the game, the lineup, the performance. There's also a look ahead to the game with Wycombe, our final match of the season, as the Boro end their fixtures at the Riverside. There's lots of other things we're going to talk about, loads to cover, so we're not going to delay things too much. Just to introduce who's on the show with me tonight, we've got Damon LaRoche, Joe Scott, and Tony Guest. Welcome aboard, lads.
Alan James.
Evening all. Up the bullet.
Yeah. Great to see you, lads. So hope you're all well. Right, we'll get on to Saturday's game first. We'll get on to the Luton game. Tony, I'm going to come to you first, pal. There was just one change to the starting lineup that started the game against Sheffield Wednesday at the Saturday's match, and that was Hayden Coulson coming in for Chuba Akpom. Didn't even make the bench. Did that surprise you, Tony?
He's a box of tricks, Warnock, and you just don't know what he's going to pick from one week to the next at the moment. You know, he comes out on his press conferences and he's going to give these kids a chance. Do you know what, James? I turned it off 10 minutes into the second half because the game was going nowhere. Well, once Watmore had equalised, the game for me was nearly done, pretty much done and dusted. But I can't get into the psyche of him, James. Why? Like you say, Akpom not even on the bench, and what comes out of Warnock's mouth in his press conferences about these rebels and the cliques, I tell you what, he's given us a fair few to pick from, because 1 minute they're in and then next minute they're nowhere to be seen. And to bring Coulson in, he's cold-shouldered nearly all season, it's strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He mentioned that he didn't want to take Akpom down to Luton if he was going to have him on the bench and he not come off the bench. Do you buy that, Tony?
No. You know what I mean? We to start a game without a recognised striker even on the bench. I know Watmore's been getting a few goals for us, but I thought Akpom's looked lively in the last few games, James. You know what I mean? And I don't know. If he gets us through the season unbeaten in our last 4 games, he's done right at the end of the day, James, hasn't he? You know what I mean? So you can't really criticise him for his team selection. We came away from Luton with a point, so yeah. We never got beat, so I have no argument against him. I just think he talks a lot of tosh sometimes.
Right. Mark Ibbott's of the opinion that he doesn't really want to see much of Chuba Akpom in the remainder of this season or next season and rather sell him. Joe, coming to you, pal. I disagree a little bit from Tony. I thought for an end-of-season game, I thought it was quite an open and entertaining match. I didn't think it was a bad game, but it was clear.
It might have just been the way I was feeling, James, with the now being on the game. You know what I mean? And well, I just couldn't get up for it.
Yeah, and I think that's understandable, Tony. When there's nothing really on it, I just didn't think it was a bad game between two teams, like you say, that had little to play for. What was clear, though, Joe, was the fact that Neil Warnock wasn't happy with the goal we conceded, was he?
No, it's another set piece again, and that's pretty much where we struggled with all season. And it was just a case of getting beaten the air far too easily. Archer couldn't do anything about it, and then from what I read on FotMob, I thought the goal was given to James Bree, but it was Glenn Rhea who got the final touch. And at the end of the day, only that bit of glimpse only lasted about 3 minutes before Watmore slotted in the equaliser. But apart from the little instant we're going to in the second half, it was pretty much a bit looked like teams have got now to play for, just didn't want to play for 3 points whatsoever, in my opinion.
Right, okay. Yeah. I think it's fascinating that people see the same game very differently. Damon there, Joe's mentioned that obviously we've struck back really quickly after going a goal behind. And it was Duncan Watmore finding it again, had the assistance of a deflection, but still 9 goals he's scored since he came to the club in November. He's had some impact on the club since he's joined us, hasn't he, Damon?
Well, yeah, it just goes to show that Duncan Watmore is an out and out winger at Sunderland when he was there, and he's been forced to play a different role under Warnock, and he's done all right, and he's got 9 goals from it, and he brings others into play as well, and he's runs off the ball are unbelievable as well. So just sometimes he can go missing in games, but I think it's just lack of delivery from our side, the creative wise.
Tony, one of the players that was involved at the weekend who is out of contract at the end of the season's Marvin Johnson. He got the assist on that goal for Duncan Watmore. That's 6 he's got since the start of the season, 4 goals as well. Do you think he'll be offered a new deal?
You know what, James? For the most of this season, we thought he'd signed pretty much a 2-year contract, and then it came out that this deal that we thought was on the table for him for next season, it's not there, which is concerning, really. He's a definite. He's one player that we must really consider re-signing, James, because if we got another 12 months out of him, even as an impact player coming off the bench, he's an asset to our club. He gets a lot of unfair stick. He's one of Warnock's unsung heroes for me. Even when we loaned him out to Sheffield United, I was really disappointed when he went out then, because I always felt he'd done a good job for us. And if we can get another 12 months out of him, I'd be over the moon, James.
Yeah. See, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying there, Tony. But for me, I wouldn't have him back, to be honest.
Well, what do you make of this? Tony Peter Graham's been in touch, and he said that we need 6 players to make a good 11. You think Warnock alluded last week to maybe trying to sign 8 or 9 players? Do you think we need 6 to go straight into the first team?
He mightn't be far off, James. You know what I mean? We might need a lot more if we don't keep all the likes of Fry and Tavernier, even McNair. You know what I mean? All these players are going to be up for grabs whether they come at the end of the contract or not. So it could be a completely different first 11 that we're looking at next season.
Yeah,
Johnny Howson's a definite starter. He's committed to the club, but anyone can come in for any of these players and take him away from us, dangle the carrot in front of Gibson, and he's not in a position to turn these people down. So, yeah, like you say, when you look now, it could be 6, it could be 7. We definitely need a new keeper. I don't think Fisher or Dykesteel's the answer at right back. We need a really good forward-thinking right back who's going to get at defences. And you can go through the team. Is Morsey and Saville any different to Howson? Do we need a bit different? We've got the young kid who's escaping me. Forgive me. What's he called? Who came on against? Yeah, Mally. We've got him to come in, but is Warnock going to show him any faith? Because we've had this problem for a few seasons now where Howson, Saville, McNair, and they all seem alike. There's never been nothing different. There's never been anyone dynamic in our midfield. So that comment there, James, yeah, I could see 6 or 7 new players coming in. And he keeps going on about another 2 wide men. He still needs 2 wide men. Mm-hmm. So does that say Balassi and Cabano are on the way? Like you say, the ball's in Warnock's court. And the comment who was telling me earlier to give me me head a wobble. Warnock talks more shite than me, mate.
Well, there's still plenty of time to talk loads of that, Tony, tonight. We've got loads to go through in the show. Joe, we'll give you a chance now, pal. We'll go back to the Luton game. I thought it was quite fascinating to read at the weekend that after the match, we've picked up 19 points after being in a losing position this season. And that's second only to Brentford in the table. And we've conceded first in 26 of our 45 matches. That's something that will have to be corrected next year. It's great that we can bounce back, but it's not good falling behind all the time, is it?
No, particularly when it comes to confidence as well. Like I said, with Brentford, like what they did, they capitalised and took the results and we didn't. and we just need to be strong in the back defensively. So it's one of the key areas we're going to have to look at next season. And go back to the Luton game. Obviously, we got the equaliser, but I think the only major talking point in the second half was the penalty. And again, in my opinion, it's another soft one that we conceded. McNair went in for the foul, but I think he caught the Luton player and he went down. And I thought to myself, if James Collins was taking this, that's going to be game over. But thankfully, Archer gets right and saved the penalty, and I think that's what kept us with a point at the end of the game.
Yeah. Talking of Archer, Damon, do you think he'll get offered a new deal by the club?
I think he will. Yeah. I think but he'll be more like an understrapper, like a second choice. I think we need a first choice. For me, I'd give him probably another 2-year extension, and then probably look at likes of Wayne Hennessy, maybe he's a free agent to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen Hennessy obviously have been mentioned as well. I think another one, latest one that's been mentioned recently is Lee Bird from Sunderland. I don't know what Boro fans will think about being like with another Sunderland player, but like I said, see what comes the summer.
Fills me full of dread. Linking us with Sunderland players.
There's two goalkeepers at Man United that are free agents. Sergio Romero is one of them, and Joe Pereira, who was at Huddersfield on loan, is another one who's 24. So it's worth probably looking to shout at them.
Yeah. We'll look a little bit further on in the show about transfer updates and things like that, lads. Michael Pellin's a decent shout there about goalkeepers. Kieran Westwood with Sheffield Wednesday. Now, whether they go down or stay up. Yes, he's about 35, 36 now, but he's a top keeper, him. I think that would probably where I would look at this. I think we need an experienced keeper as our number one next year, maybe not an untried and untested keeper. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, he's been, even amongst friends on Sunday, he's getting talked about a lot, Westwood, and I think he'd be a great addition. If Sheffield Wednesday go down, you know what I mean, but it's going to be a massive problem for Warnock to get a decent keeper in. We've never looked solid since Randolph left. Archer, like you say, has looked a bit more confident than what Bettinelli has in the few games that he's played. But whether that's enough to get him a contract at the club, I don't know. But like you say, that's down to Warnock now. We've got to get a decent keeper in and start from there and build from the keeper.
Yeah. Joe, come to you about the striker situation. I know before the Luton game last week, Neil Warnock mentioned that he would potentially like to bring 3 strikers in over the course of the summer. Luton signed Elijah Adebayo from Walsall in January. What did you make of his performance at the weekend?
I said in the preview, he's made a massive stride, coming from League 2 to the Championship, and I think most fans will obviously fail to take notice of players from the lower leagues. I mean, you look at Jamie Vardy, for example, and the likes of Charlie Austin. Adebayo was absolutely good. Him and Collins can have a decent partnership working there for Luton, and I think that's one of the key areas that we failed to look at for the last couple of years. I think looking at non-league players. I mean, Falarin and Isaiah Jones came from Tooting and Mitcham last season. So, I mean, they are gems from the lower leagues. It's just a matter of finding the right one to build into the team.
Yeah. And Tony, you touched on it earlier at the start of the show about the youngsters not being involved so much. Was that a frustration for you at the weekend that there was a lot of youngsters on the bench, not really in the starting lineup? We didn't get to see a great deal of them again.
I'm really disappointed we haven't seen more of Mali because, you know what I mean, he just stole the show the other week. The young kid scored last week on his debut. Is it Coulson?
Yeah. And
it's sad to see him still sat on the bench. When you're seeing top teams, the teams in the Premier League aren't bothered, who the shot in. if they're old enough, they're good enough. You know, if they're good enough, they're old enough. And I don't know whether the Warnock's got him, penciled in to be part of his plans next season, and he's just holding them back. I don't know, but especially when we've got nothing to play for and there's no on these games, he could be giving them a run out. He could be giving them plenty of minutes, but he just seems to be holding them back for some reason, which I don't get. Especially, like you say, we mentioned last week how he contradicted himself over the big lad up the front, where he said he was trying to protect him, and it's in a physical league. He doesn't want him getting him knocked about, and then he just saying how strong, how big, and how strong, and how good he is in the air. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it disappoints me, but let's not get carried away. We've been here before. A couple of seasons ago, it was Wing and Tav. You know what I mean? We were singing their praises. They were the future. And we've just got to give these lads a chance now, give them a run of games, and then hopefully, some of the problems that we've got could be on our own doorstep, James, to solve.
Yeah. No,
also as well, I think both the under-17s and the under-23s have both got the respective league cup finals coming up. I'm not sure whether that will be playing on their minds, and Warnock will probably saw that and try to put their minds at ease, going into these cup finals rather than playing them in the first team at the moment.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Joe. I mean, Damon, it shouldn't be lost sight of, and you've got to give the club a bit of credit and the players credit, that a few weeks ago, Pete was saying that's it. Deck chairs were out, sunglasses were on, they've given up on the season, they're just going to coast to the end of the season. That's 3 games have now gone undefeated. And at the weekend, they stood up to the physical side of the battle that they got from Luton. So they do deserve credit for that, the players that turned out, don't they?
Oh, of course, because at the start of the season, we expected another struggle again. To be honest, if Boro fans were honest, but for me, Warnock has done wonders with what he had to work, with really. To probably finish 9th or 10th is fantastic for me. The season, and then you just build on that for next season, really.
Yeah. I'll throw this one your way, Tony. Nothing like a bit of pressure or expectation here. Michael Pelling with Mali, he looked like a young Souness. Fantastic prospect. There's some shoes to fill that, aren't there?
You know what, James? He's took the words out of my mouth. I've been thinking it for the last couple of weeks, but I didn't want to compare him with Souness, but that's the type of player that he looked like to me. And I've been sitting on it. I can't believe somebody's mentioned it there, because that's what he just reminded me of, James. I know it was against 10 men, and he had the freedom of the New York Stadium, whatever it's called. But everything about him just reminded me of Souness. Whether his dad's been making him watch old videos, I don't know. But yeah, spot on, Lee. Totally agree, mate.
Okay.
Joe, the long way to go.
Yeah, definitely. Joe, I'm just going to say there, 23 away games this season. We've won 7 and drawn 6. That's 27 points we've picked up. Has there been any performances or away days that have stood out for you over the course of the season? And what do we need maybe to improve on that record? Because there's no doubt about it. It'll have to be better than that next season if we want to make top 6 or higher, won't it?
Yeah, I think away days, one that comes to mind in my head straight away was probably the Reading game. It's one of the games that we performed quite well in, and obviously we took full advantage of the team spirit we had at the time. And also Forest away was one of our good performances on the road as well. So, and it was good to take 3 points at the City Ground for a change. So, as far as away days next season, hopefully there may be at least a couple of the travelling faithful that will probably take down to those games, and hopefully that'll be the key factor of us having better away days next season, because hopefully we'll have some of the faithful back for those.
Yeah. Luke's been in touch with us again here as well, Damon, and he's mentioned that obviously Kevin Blackwell and Ronnie Jepson are scouting at the minute. I think there's also something to come back already that Warnock mentioned that he was glad that Jepson saw one player abroad because he's crossed him off his list straight away. where do you think they may be looking? Do you think they'll be looking lower leagues, or what's your thoughts, Damon?
If he's gone on a trip to like abroad, which he probably has, because that's why he's gone in. He wasn't on the bench for the games for Rotherham and things like that. I'd say probably Dutch football, maybe.
Right.
Be looking at a couple in Dutch football, because there's a few good players in Dutch football still. I mean, there's one English player that I've been looking at, and he's really good. He's really good. He's called Noni Madukele. He's 18. He's English, and he's really a good player. And he's a wide player, and I wouldn't mind taking him, to be honest.
Okay.
Well, the last time I saw of Maduka, I think he's been linked with those Yorkshire tea leaves as of late still.
Well, wait and see. That's a name to look out for, Boro fans. Talking to players, maybe staying, maybe going, coming in. Joe, Mendes Lang, he's not featured the last few weeks because of injury. But Warnock, again, like with Jordan Archer, he's indicated that he may well be offering a deal to Mendes Lang. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it looks like if we're going after Mendes Lang a new deal, it's obviously come the summer he'll have to improve fitness wise. I know he missed the majority of this season because of the personal reasons that has been going on when he was at Cardiff and he got released from his contract there. So if he does get offered a new deal, he'll definitely have to improve his fitness, and hopefully if he improves his fitness, and I know Warnock can get the best out of Mendes Lang, hopefully we might see a good bunch of Mendes Lang, I think, for this coming season coming up. But no doubt Warnock will probably use this summer to obviously look at other players. I mean, there are obviously some going to be free agents, which we'll discuss in a bit, that he'll want to bring into the team.
Yeah. And Tony, Neil Warnock's already mentioned that he's hoping to make 2 or 3 quick signings if he can, so take the pressure off later on in the transfer window. But he's already facing opposition from 4 or 5 clubs for these type of players. Are the players that we've been linked with so far the likes of Charlie Wyke, Jeju at Bristol City, Young Delap at Manchester City? Is there any that stand out for you, or do you think it'll be just players that will go totally under the radar?
I think he'll go totally under the radar. Well, this Delap at Man City, I dare say that the big lad at Bristol City, the striker we were linked with in January, I dare say he could be a good early signing for us. Charlie Wyke only lives up the road from me, so I think if he was offered a chance to come back to the Boro, I think he'd jump at it. I know people are going to go mad and say, yeah, he scored 30 goals in the first division, the third division, if you like. But so did Ivan Toney, and look what he. I know he's a totally different player to Charlie, but Charlie still knows where the onion bag is. Like you say, I always remember when we brought that season. We brought Emerson and Ravanelli and James, and we brought them in really early. We brought them in the May at the end of the season that year, and I think it helps your squad and your team so much if you get these lads in early. Teams hang on, and you wait till the transfer window shuts, and the season's 4 weeks old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it took, like you say, wherever he's got Jepson and wherever he's got the other fella, Blackwell. I think there's been a lot of words written and a lot of words said about the players in the Championship that are out of contract. I had to look at the list of all the players at the different clubs that's out of contract. And tell you the truth, James, I wouldn't have none of them. You know what I mean? They're all nearly 30 plus. The only value in anyone who's over 30 really is if Westwood, the goalkeeper. But I had to look at that list. People keep going on about Bannon at Sheffield Wednesday. He is a good player, but he doesn't seem as creative as what, for me, he's not that creative, James. He's quite predictable. So people are going on about Adam Reach. He's only 28. So I dare say if he had a chance to come back to the club, he'd jump at it. But there's some of them players, what Swansea are letting go. They're all getting on now, James, and I think we've been down that road before.
Yeah.
We've got hardly any pace in the squad, and I think that's what Warnock should be looking at.
Definitely, I agree with that. Definitely. Go on, Sean.
Yeah, like I say, going on that list, there's one player on that list, obviously, which is not mentioned, that I probably have no doubt Warnock will probably go for, just in case if we don't tie up the likes of Balassi or Cabano in that list. It's got to be Junior Hoylett. I mean, Neil Warnock had him at two different clubs, obviously QPR and Cardiff. Experience at international level as well for Canada.
Is he about 32, 33 now, though, Joe? I'm sure I've seen he might be even 34.
I think he's about 31, I think so.
Yeah,
so
he's 32, 33, something like that.
Yeah, like I say, he's experienced Canadian international, so I think, and his contract runs out with Cardiff, so I won't be surprised if it's like one of the ones that's under the radar. I think we can go in for Junior Hoylett come the summer.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
For me, wide players. The best wide players for me are the ones who are, is not experienced. They like to do their own thing, And it's the young lads who excite me on the wing, like Junior Hoylett. Players like that for me. It's like flogging a horse who's ran 10 times in the Grand National, and you want him to become a winner eventually the 11th time. You know what I mean? He's been under Warnock at QPR. He's been under him at QPR at Cardiff. Does he, at his age, want Warnock whipping him again to get up and down the wing at his age? For me, we definitely need some youth. Yeah, Balassi and Cabano staying would be ideal. But apart from that, we need some youth.
Sorry, Todd, there. Could I just say, though, all the targets that we're after, we've always been slow on the uptake, and we never get these players in. Never get them in, and it's always too little, too late. So I just hope Warnock is true to himself, and he's scouting the right sort of players that we do need. We need young, vibrant players, not people who are past it and collecting the pension. I'm sorry, we just don't.
Fair point, Damon. Yeah.
No, like you said, it's a wonder. I can see some people asking for Stuart to come back. He's 36.
No.
Definitely above limit.
Yeah. I was just going to say there was a comment from Matty Yard that came up the screen earlier on, and I was just going to say, Dim, throw it to you. He was saying that last year we finished 17th. This season at the moment we're 10 points off 6th place. It's certainly been a season of progress, but what do you think's needed to make us bridge that gap of 10 points and get to at least the top 6 next year? What do you think, Damon?
Well, it's just I just think it's just you need to wheel the rubbish that we've got at the club out, and bring in people who want to play for the badge, who are not going to knuckle down. I'd say, like I agree with Tony, the youth need to be given more of a chance, and hopefully Warnock, our home form for one is being pillar this season. Not to mention our form, but if we carry on the way we do, I'd give Warnock obviously this season to turn it around. If he doesn't, and if it doesn't show improvement in the first, I'd say 3 months, I think he could be gone.
Right. Interesting thoughts. Tony, we do hear, though, that Neil Warnock mentioned last week as well that Steve Gibson's probably putting in around about £3 million a month now. It wasn't that long ago we were saying it was £1 million a month. Now it's £3 million a month to keep the club going. It's unrealistic to expect a lot of signings this summer in terms of fees going out and things like that. The club would have to be very careful with the finances, aren't they?
Like you say, if our owner's putting £3 million a month of his own money in, it just shows you what state football is in our area, and we've got to be thankful we've got a chairman who's willing to put his own money in. Mm-hmm. That's telling me we're going to be feeding off scraps. Don't forget, you've got Derby County. If they stay up, they're going to be really pushing. You've got Stoke City. You've got the teams coming down, and to make this league competitive, especially when they've got the parachute payments, for us to be competitive with them, Warnock's got to be very shrewd and very clever.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to be bringing no marquee signings in, and like what Joe's saying there, we could end up with a team full of 30-somethings with the experience to get us up. To answer the question you put to Damon, James, like you say, 10 points off the top 6. If we'd have had a half-decent keeper and a decent goal scorer, because we have created a hell of a lot of chances this season, James, even though sometimes it hasn't been good to watch, we've created chances. And if we'd have had someone putting these chances away, even putting half of the chances away, would have been comfortable in the top 6. So I go along with what Warnock said before we hit the slump, that there's not that much needed to change the squad. I think, like you say, if we'd have got a decent goal scorer in January, I think he could have stuck with that statement. But I think on the transfer market, we are going to be feeding off scraps. And that's why these kids need as much time as they can on the pitch to make sure they're ready and to prove to Warnock that they're good enough to start next season.
Yeah. I'm with you on, Tony, that I think actually there's not a great deal in terms of our current squad, but I know there's going to be ins and outs. But I don't think there's much between that 10 points that we've got to bridge from where we are this year to next season, because I think we could have quite easily made it this year, to be honest. For all, I'm reasonably happy that we finished 10th, and it's certainly maybe where I was expecting at the start of the season. We could have finished higher. But talking about the finances, Joe, that just brings me on to another point. What do you think could happen, just playing devil's advocate here, if we get a bid in that comes into the summer for the likes of Tavernier or Fry, and Leanne Baldwin's been in touch as well and mentioning about which players do you think will be going out this summer, other players such as Spence and Coulson? Do you think there'll be some players going out for a bit of money as well?
Obviously, if it's the right offer, we'll have no choice but to take it up on it. Obviously, we were going on before the show with Spence, for example. I mean, obviously, we know he's not been our favourite player at the recent times, but there are a lot of clubs that are after him, and if a big money offer comes in for the likes of Jed Spence from a Premier League club, if it's the right price, we'll obviously take the cash. And obviously, I think Fry and Tavernier are going to be the most players we can't afford to lose. And I mean, Fry especially, if we lose him, God knows who we're going to find a replacement out of him. And the same with Tab as well.
Yeah. Be an interesting one to see. And what's going to be interesting at the weekend, Damon, and we'll get all you lads' opinion on this, is certainly going to be a tense day at the iPro on Saturday. Rotherham are obviously playing tonight and they're involved in the battle, but that game against Derby and Sheffield Wednesday, come to you first, Damon. How do you see that one turning out on Saturday?
Well, I just want Derby to go down, really, because it'll just serve them right, really. I don't like Derby at all. I don't think any Boro fan does, to be honest. But I'm leading that chase where I want Sheffield Wednesday to stay up. I want Rotherham to stay up, but it's one of them's going down, and I think Derby's going to go. I hope Derby's going to go.
Yeah.
But it's going to be tough.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough.
Yeah. What do you expect to happen at Derby at the weekend, Tony?
I tell you what, Derby look shot. At least Sheffield Wednesday look like they're giving it a go, but Derby County just look, bereft of confidence. And, Rooney stood there, and it just brings joy to my heart seeing that he's got a Derby County badge on his training top. And, I'd just love to see Rooney go down with Derby. And it's just madness, like you say, the squad that they've got. They're in a similar position to what we were last season, and it's just madness. This league is totally mental. But
yeah,
I'd definitely love to see Sheffield Wednesday stay up. You know what I mean? It's going to be a big ask for them. To see what Rotherham do tonight. It puts even more pressure on the Derbies and the Sheffield Wednesdays. But it's amazing. It's gone to the last game anyway, James. Even Wycombe, if they beat us something like 36-0 or something, they'll stay up. But if it meant beating us 17-0 or whatever it is they need to stay up to get Derby to go down, I hope they absolutely batter us.
Well, Michael Pellins nailed his colours to the mast there, and he said Derby and Sheffield both broke financial fair play rules, so it's justice for all. And some people certainly feel that way, I'm sure. Just going back to the 10 points, 12 points where we're missing from the playoffs this year, both Danny Beardmore and Steve Walker have been in touch, lads. And Joe, I'll throw this to you. They've just said about refereeing decisions have been crucial this year. And I know they affect all clubs, but as Steve's mentioned there, the Blackburn games and the Swansea games stick out like sore thumbs. And again, maybe we haven't had the rub of the green at times this season, have we, Joe?
And especially, obviously with games in front of no crowds, I think most of the refereeing decisions are both basically been on the influence of the players and their reactions. I mean, you take the Sam Morsey red card that we had against Luton at the Riverside back in December. I think that most of that were just influenced on like the Luton players and the Luton coaching staff that deemed it was a bad challenge. And I think most refereeing decisions have been gone our way this season might have been influenced by the likes of obviously the opposition coaching staff or the opposition players. So I think the referees, I feel like I don't know how to put it. I think without fans being there, they have a lot less pressure to deal with. But I think when the fans go back, I think there'll be even more pressure on the referees in regards to key decisions.
Yeah, fair point. And Tony, I'm going to throw this one out to you as well. We've talked about the European Super League and other things, and then I was preparing this show on Saturday night, Sunday morning. Later on Sunday, we had the events at Old Trafford take place. What did you make of what went on there before the Man United Liverpool game?
Strange. I totally get where the fans are coming from. It's different. I've looked into the Man U situation a bit more, and I've been watching a bit today and reading up a bit. But what them owners are doing to Man United is, disgraceful what they're doing to the club. But at the end of the day, they're still giving them a half decent product to go watch week in, week out. What they're going to do, what we're going to achieve as fans. Yeah, we're all in the same boat. So what we're going to achieve as fans by getting these owners out, because someone's going to have to come in and replace them. And whoever comes in to replace them, they're not going to come in, just out there for the love of the club. They're going to come in to want to make money. The Glazers are money hand over fist out of United, taking loans out in the club's name and, not using none of their own money. Like Man City's owners have invested their own money into the club. The Man United, them Glazers have just ripped them off to. I'm not going to swear. But the actions on Sunday totally. For someone who's been on a lot of protests, I totally get where they're coming from, and you can't beat a good protest. But for vandalism and fighting with the police, no, you can have a bit of banter with the coppers and try and wind them up, but to be shotting bottles and causing a disturbance like that, and there's a pandemic on, they broke into the ground and we got the biggest, one of the biggest games in the world called off, where they could have just stayed outside the ground and protested. You know what I mean, James? But I'm not going to knock them for it. No, I'm going to knock that. Is it Silverwood, the vice chairman of the fans committee in Manchester? Because he came across, and football fans have a bad name, and he's been interviewed on the BBC, on Sky, all over, and he started to sound like a politician. And he wouldn't condemn the acts that went on. He wouldn't condemn the bottle thrown. He wouldn't condemn the flame thrown, and he wouldn't condemn, the fan slashing the copper with a bottle. He needs to give his head a shake if he wants the support of the rest of the country. For all his fans to be in the same boat, they've got to take some responsibility for things like that, which happened on a protest.
David Jackson.
We all know, like Soona said and Roy Keane said, you always get the odd divvy.
Yeah.
You always get the odd divvy here and there, James.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I don't blame him for protesting. Long may it continue.
I was going to say, Joe, I'll bring you in on this. Just said Dave Jackson said that Man United could be owned by the fans because it is big enough to raise enough money from a fan share on it. Man United fans are just so frustrated that they don't feel like their voice is getting heard, and they're just like the Glazers just riding roughshod over them and just doing what they please, and that's the frustration. But it's not the fact that they're not winning things; they just feel as though they're just getting disenfranchised from their own club.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I said in the last show I do have a soft spot for Man U, but look at that. But looking at it overall, I think I agree with Jesse. I mean, it was good on some of the fans that they did actually come to protest in that sort of manner, but you get the odd couple of hooligans in there that just take it too far. And obviously, when the Glazers took over the club, but most of the minority of the Man United supporters went out to form FC United of Manchester, and now playing the 6th, 7th, or 8th tier of English football. And I think I won't be surprised if some of the majority that don't support the Glazers now will probably go over and support them. But, coming from my side of the United standpoint, if something needs to be done, it needs to be done like drastically. I mean, the bottle throwing and the vandalism put aside, I think it has to be done right. And I think they did do it right. And I think most majority of the owners at the clubs now, I mean, I know Arsenal on about having some owner at Spotify along with a few of the Invincibles on about trying to take over from the Cronkies. So if someone needs to come and take over the club, it has to be done right. I mean, I said last week, the owners at Leicester have done it the right way. I mean, they're still owners. I mean, from the front, they can run clubs the right way. And then obviously the fans that obviously have some majority say in their clubs. I mean, you look at in Germany, for example, most of the clubs in Germany, they do care, and some of them own majority by the fans. And I mean, that's an example that most English clubs need to be doing. They need to put the fan first instead of their own personal greed second.
Yeah, fair points made, John. Like you say, the Cronkies at Arsenal, Newcastle have got the Crankies up the road, so we'll let them crack on with all that. Looking into the Wycombe game this week, Damon. Final game of the season. What sort of team do you expect Warnock to start with, bearing in mind that we've said about youth getting a chance? Or do you just think he'll start with the 11 that's been out on show in the last few games?
I think he'll start with the majority of the 11. Maybe he might add 3 youth into there, like Manley, I would say, Hackney maybe, and Coburn up top. But we've got to go against the beast stack in Fenway, haven't we? So he's good. Hopefully he's keep him quiet because he's want to handle, isn't he? And he's 36. I think he knows where the net is more than our strikers do. So
he looks like he's running in mud now. No, he's finished.
Well, I'll jinx it.
I'll mark him on Saturday, Damon.
I'll jinx it.
I think I can mark him. My son thinks he's amazing. That our Cameron thinks he's a fantastic footballer. I dare say about 10 years ago he'd have took some stopping, but he's getting on a bit now.
I mean, Tony, with regards to Wycombe, they deserve a lot of credit. They came up this season. Nobody expected them to do a great deal. And the fact that they've theoretically taken it to the last game of the season, they've got 40 points. I don't think they won a game till December. Yeah, they've got 40 points. They deserve a lot of credit for it, Tony.
Definitely. They've done, like you say, they've done well. They've done well to get where they are going into the last game of the season. I know it's a big ask for them. They are definitely down, but for the club size, it just shows you. It just shows you what this Super League was. It takes away things like the ambition of clubs like Wycombe and how far up the ladder they can get, because to come into that league, one of the hardest leagues in the world, and to perform the way they have, I bet you, the wage bills, you know, the wage bill of the players, you know, the experience of the players is nowhere near what there is at some of these clubs. And they've come in and they've competed, James.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I think on Saturday, you know, just to show Derby, to show Sheffield Wednesday they're not doing any favours. They started with the last 4 games, James. So I don't think we'll be seeing any Mali or Coulson starting on Saturday.
Yeah. I think I agree with you on that, Tony. And Joe, just in terms of Wycombe, before we move off, Gareth Ainsworth, the manager, he's been linked with the vacant job at Preston, but he's been like a breath of fresh air as well this season. He's been very open and candid in his interviews after the game, and you can only wish them the best for next season, can't you?
Oh, definitely. Like I say, Ainsworth has been with them for a very long time, and it's an amazing how he turned a club like Wycombe around. I think he only took over the club, I think, when they were in League Two, when he took them up from to League One, and had that fantastic season last season of them getting into the playoffs and obviously going up via it. And then obviously when it comes to this season of the Championship, you know, I think it was a bit of a baptism by fire for them. But I mean, like I've said before when we played them last time, I think if they were going to go down, they were going to go down fighting, and that's exactly what they've done. Particularly the last couple of games. I mean, that winner from Akinfenwa's penalty against Bristol City, I think, showed that they're definitely going to go down fighting for sure. We got to look at other players they've got in their ranks, like Ikpiaz, who I think was an absolute nightmare when we play, you know, when they played against us at Adams Park, and I got that Musquet as well on loan from Leicester. The last couple of games, he definitely looked a threat going forward. So, Ainsworth, I mean, if he's been linked, you know, to Preston, obviously, if he does go there, we wish him all the best up down there. But like I said, I think Wycombe, in my opinion, even though we weren't able to visit Adams Park in person, they've been a fresh air to the Championship this season.
Yeah. And Damon, obviously, it's last home game. You want to go out on a positive note. We won 3-1 down at Adams Park at the start of the year. Can you see us repeating that, or at least getting a win on Saturday? What's your prediction, Damo?
Probably 2-0. I'd probably say 2-0. Just keep it straight, really. And as long as we keep the clean sheet, keep it tight at the back, hopefully. But Boro never do things easy, do we? So we don't know what Boro turn up.
Yeah, particularly if it's the last game of the season.
Yeah. Do you see there being plenty of goals?
What, James?
Do you see there being plenty of goals on Saturday?
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? It's happened before in the last game of the season, hasn't it? You know what I mean? I remember, like I say, it was the Man City 8-1. That was the last game of the season. Also, we got a good eye in that Portsmouth one, the last game of the season. I can see there being goals on Saturday games. Neither team's got now to play for, so hopefully teams just go out and, you know, both teams give %, and hopefully we can see a few goals and with a Boro win on the end of it. Because that Gareth Ainsworth, well, he's got a mathematical chance of staying up. He'll want lads to go out and give everything. So
yeah.
I still think we'll beat 4-1, like
4-1. How about you, Joe? What you expected? After 2 home wins we've got, are you going to make it a full house, mate?
Like I say, it will depend. Obviously, tonight's result. Obviously, Rotherham do play Luton away. Just now they're kicked off. Now, actually, I think if obviously Rotherham get at least a win or a draw out of it, I think that technically that will send Wycombe down. But if for some reason if Luton win, it'd still be wide open. So if that happens, Wycombe will want to make the most of it and obviously do the utmost to slim hopes of trying to survive. But there's definitely will be goals, no doubt about it. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 Boro win.
3-1 Boro win. Well, lads, all will be revealed on next week's show. Will be released when we get next week's show. But yeah, it'll be all revealed next Monday night, back in our usual time at 6:30 on a Monday night. Many thanks to everybody for watching out there. My thanks to Damon, Joe, and Guesty for joining us. Thanks again, lads.
No worries, mate.
Cheers, mate.
If you haven't already done so, everybody out
Cheers,
there,
James.
please like. You're welcome, mate. Please like and subscribe to Boro Fan TV. Keep in touch with all of our stuff on our platforms this week. Obviously, back to usual business this week, so there'll be things on each day. Keeping you up to date with your favourite club. As I said, it's our final programme of the season next Monday night, so we'll be talking about the Wycombe game and the season in general. So until then, from me, James Hutchinson, and everyone at Boro Fan TV, have a good week. Take care of yourselves, and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.